for our next question, comes in from Stewart Hirsch. So thank you, Stewart, from Strategic Relationships. And Stewart asks us, what are the three most important factors a young lawyer should consider before talking with us about buying a law practice? All right, so I'm not going to necessarily answer Stewart's question as well as possible because Stewart asked for three reasons. We're really going to start out with one primary factor that that growing law firms should be considering, which is that have they already built their core foundation, right? If they've built their core foundations on who they are and what they do. That is, they've established clients, they've established goodwill, they have practiced enough in certain practice areas, certain subject matter areas. Let's just say a T&E attorney who's practiced for 10 to 20 years. It is now in his or her early 40s, maybe even early 50s, heck, maybe even late 30s, but they know that subject matter already. And using that example of T&E, they probably also do real estate, corporate, maybe some other areas as well. They've developed some referral sources and they're developing digital value, but they're competing like crazy with others in the marketplace, right? So to answer Stewart's question of, okay, when do we know that it's the right time to grow by acquisition? All right, we've got our law firm on steady ground. Now we're ready to grow by acquisition, right? If we have the subject matter down in certain practice areas, then I can tell you in my experience that if that growing law firm, if they're entrepreneurial at all, which by the way, not all lawyers are entrepreneurial. Plenty of us went straight to law school because we didn't want to go to business school, right? We didn't want to run a business. But for those lawyers that have some entrepreneurial inklings about themselves, right? Then if you've got that core practice already built, you're ready to grow by acquisition. Grow by acquisition means taking on practices or a practice that has practice areas similar to you. So our example has been trust and estates attorney, does real estate and does corporate. We always recommend stay in your lane. Buy similarly situated practices. Let's use a legal term, like kind, right? Let's look for a senior attorney-led firm that practices in a like kind area as you. Here, our example, T&E, real estate, corporate. Those are going to bring in four key benefits: the instant client growth, combined workforce from a senior attorney's practice, the cumulative experience, and the marketing value. And then here, it's very important to understand that when you have grown by acquisition, right, these are not turnkey transactions, okay? It's not as if you're purchasing another Dunkin' franchise, right? This is a law firm that's run by a senior attorney. It's often been run in a certain way for many, many years. What we're showing here is that post-sale, we see that there are 4 steps needed to achieve success so that growth by acquisition actually works. The first is what we call the listening tour, right? What we often hear as kids, it can be annoying when our parents say it, but our parents were right, okay? We have 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? First month or 2 months, just listen to what the senior attorney is saying. Listen to what their para-staff is saying. Very important. It's almost like the judge can hurt you and the clerk can kill you while the senior attorney can hurt you. But boy, those para-staff, if they're not in sync with you, they can really interfere, and not in such a bad way. They don't mean bad. They don't mean to be interfering, but they certainly can interfere. We have to listen to what it is that they want. Next is each side needs to adapt and adopt. Once we've gone through listening tour, adapt, and adopt, then the 2 firms can start growing together, right? And growing together means the trust transfer from the senior attorney to the lawyers at the firm that the senior attorney joined, and that's going to bring in more revenues, and it's going to be a successful growth by acquisition until finally the senior attorney and really both sides are saying, "Wow, we should have done this earlier."